Adam Schartoff is the longtime host of a podcast called Filmwax Radio, which explores the independent film culture in Brooklyn. He's here today on the cusp of the Golden Globes and the Oscars, and let's not forget Sundance, starting next week. How you doing today, Adam?
Good.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Can you tell us just a little bit first about Filmwax Radio?
Yeah.
The podcast.
Yeah. I'd be very happy to, actually.
Would you? Is that why you're here?
Well, in part. Actually, we're supposed to bring on a filmmaker today, but we're certain to have him. He's actually one of these Oscar shortlisted filmmakers,
excellent.
but came to, I guess the weather caught up with him, and he got very sick. So, the Filmwax Radio started actually with a local internet radio enterprise called B-Box Radio. And then, as will happen, talk shows are so perfect for being podcasts. And I think I saw that podcasts are kind of, seem to be kind of blowing up a bit. And so, and I thought I could expand my audience by making it a podcast.
Okay.
And so I brought on, we're working on that. And then so I was trying to, it started off originally making it very Brooklyn-centric, and it still is. It's like a very Brooklyn-centric show, but I've expanded beyond that too, to cover the whole independent film scene. But you can't do that without touching on almost every Brooklyn. I mean, it's also so many filmmakers and people that are working in the independent film community are based here in Brooklyn, and a lot of the organizations and are based, if not in Brooklyn, in New York. So it's just great to have the podcast based here. So it's called Filmwax Radio, and I partner with Rooftop Films.
Oh, I love them. I went to like one of the early screenings out in Bushwick. Yeah.
You mean this past summer, or do you mean?
No, when they started.
Oh.
When there was like 20 people.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, this is cool.
They've been around a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At least in Bushwick they have been.
Yeah. So they were really great about. I started partnering with them this summer. So if you want to sample the show, or you can go to iTunes and subscribe to it, or you can also get it on if you go to the Rooftop Films website. It's on there as well.
Now, Brooklyn has obviously always been a mecca for artists, but do you think that Brooklyn is on the rise?
Well, Brooklyn is I think Brooklyn is this great spot for what's happening, because I think a lot of people are intrigued by Brooklyn. Of course, I'm not just talking about people that are already living here, but around, internationally.
Around the world, no.
Totally.
Absolutely. So many things are shooting in Brooklyn now.
Yeah.
Right, and also I think it just has a vibe that people really like. Like, it's a romantic vibe, and people are intrigued by Brooklyn, and it's not a threat. It's not like New York City. Oh, everybody feels competitive. A lot of other cities maybe feel competitive. At least nationally, with New York on some level. I don't know if that's really true. I'm kind of going on about it. But I think Brooklyn really does hold a lot of intrigue to a lot of people. So in that way, yeah, I think it is on the rise. So I think you'll probably just continue to see more films based here and more TV productions that are based in Brooklyn, because there's just so much to offer,
Definitely. Do you think that there is cinematically that there's a Brooklyn style of film? Now we have so many filmmakers here. Like, can you go to a show and be like, oh yeah, that's some Brooklyn style to it?
You mean like a screening or something?
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, because I watch occasionally. I screen films for Tribeca Film Festival and Rooftop Films, and so I see all these very early, like, films that haven't even been in a festival yet. They're still being they're still in post. They're still like editing and doing sound design on it, but they're submitting for festivals. And you can tell right away when so many films are taking place in Brooklyn now, because I think it's like a branding your film in a way. It gives it a level, I don't know.
So I understand you're also going to be curating something in HD for this network here, yeah?
Oh, well, I think the idea is to bring some films from local filmmakers, or at least with a Brooklyn connection, and screen them on the new channel, the high HD channel, and bring the filmmaker afterwards for a Q&A and sort of do like a televised film series, Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite films from this past year?
Well,
There's so many.
There really are, but and I like to mention some of the smaller ones too, but it's hard to remember. I want one film that I saw, of course, that everybody's aware of is Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yes.
I bring it up because not only is it probably going to be, I'm guessing, get some nominations for Oscars, it's likely, and maybe Golden Globes, of course. But there's two actors that are in it, and they have relatively small roles in the film, but of course, we're talking about the Coen Brothers film. But both both Alex Karpovsky and Adam Driver, who are both both in Girls, the HBO series, which happens to be premiering on Sunday, I understand.
That's right.
It is. They are both in this film, Inside Llewyn Davis. So there's that connection, and so. But that's one of my favorite. I saw that not long ago, and of course I was very excited that I understand you have Adepero Duye coming up.
That's right. Yes,
So
Brooklyn Zone.
I might just sort of stand in the back there and like watch.
Please do.
Because she's coming on. I'm very excited because that also was it was a very hard film to watch, and I'm very sensitive guy, as you could tell. So I don't know if I could sit through a second and third screening of a movie as intense. But Steve McQueen's film, 12 Years a Slave, of course, was a remarkable film. So I was very excited, like I say, that Adepero's here. Maybe I can get her to even agree to come onto the podcast while
Sure, she'd be happy to.
Maybe you can
As
help
a
me work.
Brooklyn native.
You can help me work that. And I think you mentioned Sundance at the beginning of the segment, and I wanted to also touch upon, if we have the time, to touch upon a few films that are coming up. So I can't claim to have seen any of them yet, but there are a number of filmmakers that have from Brooklyn that have films there. One is a young woman named Desiree Akhavan, and she is I hope I didn't butcher her last name, but she is a part of the Brooklyn Filmmaker Collective, which is interesting because I'm actually interviewing some of those guys this week to put up the podcast, for a future podcast.
Right.
And she was supposed to be among the few people that were going to sit in on the interview, but she had to back out of it because she's getting ready to go to Sundance.
Hello.
So I can't be too insulted that she, had scheduling problems, But she has a new film. It's called Appropriate Behavior, which is interestingly enough sort of being compared to Girls. I don't know why, but I guess because she the lead actress in it. It plays it's like a Persian American, Brooklyn-based, who is politically correct lesbian, and in her circle, I guess, of friends and relationships. So again, I haven't seen it, but the buzz is really, really strong for Desiree's film. Another one is Alex Ross Perry, who people maybe know or remember his film. It's his follow-up to The Color Wheel. I don't know. It was at BAM Cinema Fest across the street a couple of seasons ago. It ended up getting a theatrical, The Color Wheel, at BAM, this is his second feature, and it's starring now. I guess he's moved up because it stars Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is it a comedy?
It must be, yeah. I think it's probably like a neurotic comedy, a la Woody Allen and that type of thing. I'm assuming, I know that Alex loves probably early Woody Allen films, and I'm sure it's one of many influences that he would probably own up to. But I think that's going to be these. By the way, these films are. I don't believe they're in competition at Sundance.
Okay.
They're part of this category called the next category.
The next.
The
category.
next.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I like
Yeah,
that.
You don't
yeah.
have to compete. It's just next.
Next.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be here tomorrow, is that right? To come in and talk about the Pussy Riot documentary?
Yeah, right, exactly. Maxim Postorovkin is half of the directorial team behind Pussy Riot: A Punk Prayer. It's one of the Oscar shortlisted documentaries. Now, on November 16th, we're going to find out who the actual nominations are. So, of course, I wish Maxim and his co-director, Mike Lerner, all the luck in the world with that. Talk about helping, like a bump for your film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
An Oscar.
definitely.
Let's get them in before the nominations come out, because if they are nominated, it's going to be harder to book those guys. But yeah, Maxim's here with the Pussy Riot, that film is remaining topical because the young ladies who were imprisoned as a result of their protest, they were protesting the church
Right.
and the government's added, I guess, support of the church, and they were doing various very I don't know, outlandish sort of forms of protest to get attention, and they were arrested, and they were several of the girls from this protest group, Pussy Riot. And so they were just recently released from
That's right.
the
And one of
gulags.
them was sent to like Siberia, and she
To
was
the gulags.
missing for
Yeah,
the
Nadia.
gulags. Okay.
Yeah, she went missing for a few days. She went off the radar. I think I was talking to Maxim on my podcast about it because he's been on a couple of times, and he was saying that she was probably fine, and that they were intentionally sort of, because she was so vocal and she had so much attention, and she was causing embarrassment to the obviously to the government, and so they probably intentionally just sort of got her off the radar for a few days just as an act of sort of.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. Just want to thank you for coming out and sharing your thoughts with us today.
You.
And to all of the Brooklyn-based productions, actors, directors,
Yes, keep
filmwaxradio.com, and keep producing.
Yes.
Thanks so much,
Thank
guys.
you.